The planet looked dead until the trees began to move. A dusty ochre sky stretched across the horizon, tinted like a faded photograph. Long abandoned, the winds, dry and whispering, tossed sand across the desolate landscape of Tethys. 9, a once lush world, now reduced to a graveyard of crumbling cliffs and dying foliage. For Arthur Conley, a seasoned astrobe, Ologist, the planet was a grim reminder of the fragility of existence, and the first entry in his journals was filled with despair. Arthur stepped outside the cramped research module, squinting against the ochre sun that seemed to hang indifferently in the sky. The metal structure, a sanctuary against the harshness of Tethys 9, had been his home for the past 6 months, a home he had desperately tried to fill with hope and purpose. He let out a long breath visible in the cool air and looked over the barren landscape. The ground was riddled with the remnants of once great forests. Their skeletal branch is reaching toward the heavens, as if pleading for reprieve. A soft beep from his wrist communicator interrupted his dwelling thoughts. It was Lyra's voice, crystal clear even through the static that seemed to emanate from the planetary quirks. "Arthur, are you there? You should come back inside. I think you'll want to see what I've found." Lyra Carr Dayers had joined him on this mission to Tethys 9, fresh out of her studies in xenobotany. The younger scientist had an insatiable curiosity that reminded Arthur of the long-lost excitement he had felt when he had first entered the field. He hurried back into the research module. As he crossed the threshold, he found her hunched over a holographic display, urgently manipulating the data projected before her. "What is it?" he asked, brushing the dust from his clothes. As he leaned over her shoulder, "Energy fluctuations detected right over there." She gestured excitedly toward a portion of the barren landscape on the small window. "It's fluctuating every few minutes like a heart. But I think there's something beneath the surface. What do you think it could be?" Arthur asked, his voice low, a mix of intrigue and skepticism. "I don't know," she admitted, the wonder in her eyes twinkling like distant stars. "But it's not natural. I've never seen anything like this before on a dead planet. Or maybe it just looks dead," he countered gently. They both stood in silence, contemplating the lifeless horizon. He tapped his fingers against the metallic edge of the console. The technology they had brought with them had delved into the Earth, sending probes measuring biological activity. So far, every indicator had pointed toward an ancient extraction of life, a world buried in dust and despair. They had arrived on Tethys 9 in search of signs of life, a planet thought to have once held rich biospheres teeming with flora and fauna. Almost immediately, they had been struck by how lifeless it appeared, punctuated only by the arid winds and the hollow echoes of their own voice. A promise of discovery had lured them here, and now those hopes were hanging by a thread. Lyra turned her focus back to the data swirling in the air as she initiated another sequence. "Look there, our nanofluor's signatures detected. It's unlike anything I've seen. It's almost as if something is trying to communicate." Arthur raised an eyebrow. "Communicate with what us? It's been dormant for millennia." "Exactly, dormant." She stood taller as the spark of ambition ignited. "Maybe it has been waiting for us." The thought struck Arthur. A small seed of doubt grew in the back of his mind, battling the thrill of a new possibility. Lyra, this could just be the after effects of centuries of planetary cataclysms, nothing more than expired life signs. Lyra's brow furrowed, the optimism in her gaze unyielding. "And what if it is? And what if there's still a flicker of life awaiting rediscovery?" He cowled and denied the pulse of excitement racing through him. He felt it, the unquantifiable itch at the back of his mind. Tethys 9 was the cold face of the cosmos, but it called to them both. The contrast between the planet's desolation and the hope flickering inside the module was magnetic. "All right," Arthur said finally, taking a deep breath. "Let's step outside and take readings. Well, follow the signatures. If something is happening underground, we need to document it." They quickly suited up against the harsh atmosphere, and exited the module once more. As they crossed the threshold, the seemingly endless stretch of barren wasteland greeted them, an omnipresent reminder of neglect and decay. Armed with scanning device, they ventured into the unnerving quiet where every sound echoed like a whisper ushering them deeper into the unknown. Over here, Lyra called, her voice imbued with found determination. She was silently leading the way, her attention hyper-focused on her readings. As she pointed to a cluster of displaced stones, Arthur noticed something peculiar in the ground, a faint rhythmic thrum that felt almost palpable. "Can you feel that?" he asked us. "Nisht, yes," she exclaimed, knelt amidst crumbling gray rock. "It's like a heart." But he knelt beside her, feeling it pulse beneath him. Whatever lay underfoot had made an impression, the remainder of an echo from long ago, remnants of life that had remained buried through time. With each passing moment, the feeling of something reaching back towards them intensified, as if the very essence of the planet was awakening. "Let's dig," Lyra suggested. She plucked at the surface, shifting away the stones with singular focus, while Arthur joined her with every push of their hands. An unsettling dread urged within him. He understood the ramifications of what they were attempting. If eyes 9 held not just lifeless relics, but a living heart, but it begged questions too profound to ignore. It was then that the wind shifted, sweeping unexpectedly across the desolate landscape. The dust danced in the air like glimmers of cosmic wonder, and from the corner of his eye Arthur caught movement. "Did you see that?" he said, glancing toward a nearby grove of twisted trees. But Lyra remained fixated on their excavation focus. "Arthur," she urged, though her voice trembled slightly. He cowed and shake the strange sensation that coursed through him like a sudden spark igniting instinctual fear. He knew instinctively that something was changing in the atmosphere, a slow awakening that sent vibrations through the ground and coursed through him. The trees, their gnarled trunks bore an eerie stillness shrouded in shadow. Something was urging them to look away, while a deeper force compelled them closer. "Lyra," he began, but she was already engrossed in pulling up clumps of dirt, relentless in her pursuit. Yet that tough trees seemed to ripple. He blinked, willing himself not to imagine things. But there it was, a distinct shift, a whirl of branches that seemed to bend toward them, longing to take part in this unearthing of history. And then the ground trembled, a pulse of energy coursed through the air, like a whispering wave, causing both of them to freeze. They exchanged bewildered glance, as a shared understanding igniting beat between them. "Arthur, I think you should," but before she could finish her thought, the tree shifted again. It was slight at first, branches creaking as they entwined and unfurled. A sudden rush of energy crackled through the ground beneath them, rising toward the surface. The very air hummed with anticipation, a living pulse, and Lyra reached out, entranced. Arthur's heart raced, a sheer wonder laced with caution. "Lyra, wait." Their eyes were locked in a moment of shared dread and curiosity. It was both thrilling and terrifying. In the heart of Tethys 9, the dead veins of the planet seemed to awaken with purpose. Impulse is shot through the trees, unfurling leaves, stretching limbs beyond what they had thought possible in this desolate expanse. Then with an audible push, the ground erupted. A surge of life erupted before them, the clods of earth bursting upwards as dozens of spectral roots spiraled from the soil, pulling deeply from its depths. The trees, now undeniably alive, sprang into motion as their once stagnant branches began to sway with a life of their own. Arthur stood with his mouth agape, past uncertainties shattering like glass underfoot all around them. The landscape began to hum, resonating with colors, unseen sounds unheard. What had once been thought a dead world now felt as if it were breathing, welcoming them with trepidation. Convey Lyra's words faded into an unexplainable astonishment. The trees twisted and turned, their bark undulating like muscle, revealing vibrant green leaves that shimmered in the ochre light. A crescendo of throaty creaks echoed across the wilderness, as though Tethys 9 were finally breaking free from centuries of silence. A world once burdened beneath lifeless skies, now alive with potential. Arthur reached for Lyra's hand, and together they stepped forward, hearts synchronized in a dance that spoke of adventure yet to come, the unseen secrets of this planet unveiled in what could only be described as a rebirth. They stood at the brink of a discovery that would swallow them whole, no longer pulsing with uncertainty, but echoing with hope. "Come on," he urged, and the two of them moved toward the trees, feet weaving through the flowing roots, uncertainty swept away by burgeoning excitement. As they pressed closer to the wonder beckoning them forth, the awakening of Tethys 9 began to unravel their most audacious leap into the heart of discovery had just begun, as Arthur and Lyra stepped deeper into the thicket of awakened flora. A sense of genuine wonder enveloped them. This was a place that had long been forgotten, now teetering on the edge of revelation. Tiny motes of light danced in the air, weaving through the leaves and swirling around them like celestial spirits celebrating their arrival. Each step they took echoed with the faintest pulse from the earth beneath them, a kind of rhythm that matched their own heart beats, a dialogue between the living and the living. "Do you feel that?" Lyra's voice was a whisper, reverent and raw with exhilaration. She turned to face him, her eyes bright and tilted slightly upward, as if she were prepared to explore not only the landscape around them, but the depths of the connection they shared. "It's alive. This planet is more than we ever imagined. It's as if it's beckoning us, telling us we're part of something grand." Arthur nodded, a smile breaking across his face. The initial fear that gripped him began to recede, replaced by a swell of belief. The way Lyra spoke made him feel the enchantment too transformative and intimate. He extended his hand toward a cluster of vibrant cobalt blue flowers swaying gently in the breeze. As his fingertips brushed against the petals, they unfurled slightly as if in response to his touch. "It's beautiful," he replied, letting the delicate blooms hover just out of him. It reached, grounding himself in this connection between himself and a once dormant planet. "But Lyra, if we discover how to communicate with Tethys 9, what does that mean? What would happen?" "Maybe it means a chance to revive not only the land, but the hope for future expeditions. We could change our understanding of life on different planets," she suggested with infectious optimism. "And for the community back home, it means connection and hope amid a void that feels overwhelmingly empty. I hope they're ready for it." Their laughter mingled, weaving through the leaves above them, but beneath it a deeper current of worry flickered. It was a fear neither dared to voice, the implications of success. What if humanity was not ready for this gift, or worse, misused it? As they stepped through the grove, they emerged into a clearing where the land unfurled in a patchwork quilt of vibrant greens, golds, and blues. They had expected desolation; instead life sprouted exuberantly. In the center stood a massive tree, a towering figure adorned with luminescent fritz and roots that coiled around it like tender arms. It seemed the very spirit of Tethys 9, its bark engraved with twisted patterns like ancient symbols, yearning for recognition. Lyra beamed, moving toward the tree. As though it were a friend, she approached it, slowly, reverently placing her hands against the trunk, and closed her eyes. Minutes passed in silence, the wind cradling their breaths as Arthur observed her. There was something sacred in her gesture. She was not merely touching a tree, but felt it deep in her core. "What is it saying?" Arthur asked, curiosity intertwining with tenderness. "I think it's been waiting," she murmured, a gentle smile blooming across her face. "There's a yearning here, a sense of life lost. It's a longing for connection, for companionship." He felt a pang in his chest, an echo of memories long buried. Arthur had been a wanderer in his own life, often alone despite being surrounded by people. This moment felt monumental, transforming his eternal search for connection into something tangible. "It's like us, is it?" he pondered aloud, searching for meaning in a barren world. Lyra opened her eyes, tears glistening on her lashes. "We're not alone any more, she whispered, her hand lingering on the rough bark, as if sensing an electric pulse. Neither are they. As she spoke, mindful of the emotional weight of her words, Arthur pictured families and individuals back home, members of a community, waiting to hear that there was still a flicker of hope out there in the universe, that perhaps their understanding of life, of connection, was broader and deeper than they had ever known. They thus shared a moment of connection with the planet that felt more profound than either could have anticipated. Hand in hand, both with the tree and with each other, they stood for an unspoken pact forming in the air, a promise to learn and share, to safeguard both the past and the path to the future. Suddenly, with a surge of light and energy, the tree released a plume of sparkling spores into the air, illuminating the clearing like starlight. Arthur and Lyra instinctively stepped back in awe, mouths agape, an amalgam of surprise and joy painting their expressions. The spores drifted on the zephyr like captured whispers, and spun around them, embracing them in an ethereal dance. Look, Lyra gasped, they're beautiful. Do you think they could carry message? I don't know, he mused, captivated by the beauty surrounding them, but I think we've just uncovered a way to communicate with what's awakened here. They began to swirl their arms, twirling and laughing, as the spores enveloped them, their burdens lotioned by effervescence. What had begun as an expedition steeped in uncertainty transformed into a spontaneous celebration of progress. This unplanned moment spoke of connection, their friendship deepening within the boundless playground of Tethys 9. Beneath the ancient trees and algae swirled soil, they crafted memories that shimmered brightly in the vast echo of space. In time, they stepped back, their laughter giving way to a contemplative silence. Beyond the euphoric moment, now riddled with possibility, a nagging reality lingered in the back of Arthur's mind, one that refused to relinquish its hold. They had unveiled a living testament, a bond with the earth, but also beckoned forth a responsibility of magnitude. As the spiraling spores danced their way toward the atmosphere, Arthur's heart tugged at the edges of hope and fear. Could they truly reignite a world, and at what cost would the people back home comprehend? Would they care? Arthur, Lyra said softly, snapping him from his thoughts. I want you to know, whatever happens, you've transformed this journey into something special. He could feel the sincerity woven within her words, the warmth of companionship radiating through the air. They had come to rely on one another through moments of doubt and celebration. You too, he replied, the heaviness in his heart lightening. I felt so alone before you came along. You've shown me what it means to connect not just with this world, but also with myself. Her smile was soft yet electric, and it lit the space between them, bridging isolation through acknowledgement. Together, well shape the narrative. Their bond had deepened beyond mere colleagues on an expedition. They had nurtured a friendship born of shared purpose. As the brilliant spores fluttered round them, ringing like tiny chimes against their protective gear, the realization dawned. They were bound not just to navigate the unknown, but to face it together, side by side. With renewed resolve, Lyra knelt to gather samples of the spores. Let's take these back. We need to document and everything we've discovered, she urged, her expression now one of determination. And we should work on how to communicate with the world. Arthur added, a glimmer of hope igniting in his chest. But as they moved closer to the colossal tree, another layer to the enchantment revealed itself. The roots began to shift and contort, as if presenting a hidden door deep within the base of the trunk. A shimmering light seeped through the cracks in the bark, a beacon calling them closer. Lyra tilted her head in wonder. Arthur, look. What do you think that is? It feels like a gateway, he whispered, his voice barely above a breath, the roots entwined like fingers, drawing them into a world they had only glimpsed. Their bodies instinctively leaned forward, commingling their breaths with the warm air that surged through the tree. Arthur's chest tightened with the realization that this might be a point of no return. But every atom in him longed to step inside, Should we? Lyra asked, her eyes wide with anticipation together. He replied, grasping her hand tightly with courage and hope entwined. They stepped toward the entrance. As they crossed the threshold, the moment expanded, time slowed, and the very atmosphere vibrate with soothing hum. Light enveloped them. Inside the hollow trunk of the tree, an oasis filled with luminescent flowers twinkling like distant stars. The air shimmered, almost liquid, coursing around them, murmuring promises and secrets. And then, before them, a vibrant garden unfolded, thriving in the heart of Tethys, 9, filled with flowers of every color imaginable. The ethereal glow intertwined with silver ribbons of light that drifted like wisps of dreams, converging toward a central core. Crystalline sphere pulsating with energy, the very heart beat of the planet. In that brilliant moment, Arthur knew they had stumbled upon a nexus, a place of ancient wisdom and life's essence. The truth unfurled before them, the realization that Tethys 9 had not merely been dormant, but had been waiting for guardians to witness and share its beauty. Arthur, this could be the key, Lyra said in awe, her grip on his hand tightening, as if conveying her heart's rapid rhythm. If we can unlock this, we may find a way to communicate with the consciousness of Tethys 9, to understand its needs, to revive it. They stood, hearts racing, their bond forged through adventure and wonder, found resonance in the swirling mysteries around them, a shared sense of purpose that transcended words. Together they would cultivate not just a connection with Tethys 9, but a profound embrace of their own humanity, harmonizing with the ancient wisdom of this long-forgotten world. But as they approached the crystalline core, the pulse around them intensified. It vibrated beneath their feet, sending ripples through the garden, resonating with the very essence of what it meant to thrive together. The warmth constricted, tightening around them like a protective embrace. But this time, a whisper of urgency lingered in the air, pressing up on their consciousness. Arthur and Lyra exchanged a glance of shared understanding. The stakes were not just their own, they had become stewards of a fragile trust between the planet and existence itself. And then, a sudden shift, a tremor that began in the depths of the garden. It rippled along the garden floor, and the vibrant flowers shuddered, casting errant sparks of light. Panic flickered in the back of Arthur's mind. Lyra, Arthur called, but her gaze fixed up on the crystalline sphere, filled with awe and fear, created a fierce tug of war in his chest. We need to explore, she interrupted resolutely. No sooner had the words left her mouth than the pulse escalated, rumbling echo that shook the very place they stood. And within that pulse, a terrifying realization urged. The awakening they had spurred could ignite reactions they could not foresee. Lyra, what if we can't control this, he urged, but she met his gaze, her determination sparkling like fire. Light, we're here now, we've awakened something vital and fragile. We must follow it through together. The sanctuary was brightening, radiating an almost unbearable energy. Tendrils of light shot out around them, weaving it the roots and flowers, breathing life into every corner beneath them. But that same energy, cursed with an unpredictable ferocity now, uncertainty, loomed larger than ever as they took another step, the line between hope and dread blurring together without knowing where this path might lead. They embraced a deeper trust forged through their shared battles against isolation, through the gentle kindness they found in one another. And as they approached the crystalline core, that unyielding band shone as brightly as the air around them, igniting their resolve. Whatever lay ahead, they would traverse it hand in hand, forging a path through the unknown, trembling with both fear and excitement in this heart. Bit of Tethys 9 within the confines of a living world. Arthur and Lyra could hear the hushed whispers of how crucial their choice would be, not only to the planet's future but to their ability to redefine what it meant to connect, to belong, and to protect a world that had risen from the ash. The crystalline core thrummed with a melodic resonance, the kind that reached deep within them, awakening instinctual ties to something much larger than either could fathom. As they stood poised to dive in The mystery of it, all the world around them whispered secrets of both promise and peril, leading them deeper into Mon. Harris embrace, urging them to uncover not just the heart of Tethys 9, but the root of their own existence, and beneath the pulse of energy radiating from the earth, as branches entwined above, both Arthur and Lyra. They were on the precipice of unveiling something greater, a narrative intertwined, pulling not only at them but at the threads binding life itself together. The anticipation hung heavily in the air, charged with uncertainty, friendship, and burgeoning love, a tapestry waiting to be woven, threads of diversity, twisting into a singular voice, an uncharted journey ready to unfold. The crystalline core expanded in front of Arthur and Lyra, casting a kaleidoscope of shimmering colors across their face. It's the throbbing of Tethys' heart. It pulsed through their bodies, resonating at a frequency that seemed engraved in every cell of their beings. Each breath they took mingled with the vibrations that swirled around them, as though the very air recognized this pivotal moment of awakening. Lyra was the first to step closer to the core. As she reached out, the light enveloped her fingers, and she gasped, eyes wide with wonder, but tempered by a reverence that pulled her in. The stillness of the garden, this was where the spirit of Tethys 9 truly resided, a transcendent energy waiting patiently for them to discover its depth. Arthur, she began softly, her voice barely a whisper. It trembled with a mix of awe and trepidation. I think it wants us to understand its story. The spark in her eyes ignite it, a warm sense of courage in him. Together, then he replied, stepping beside her, filling the familiar connection that had grown between them, the depth of intimacy woven from shared fears and aspirations. They had reached this moment side by side, two explorers becoming something more than just colleagues. They were partners in this grand adventure, as they both reached for the crystalline core. The garden erupted with a symphony of colors, flowers blooming eruptively around them, transforming the air into a tapestry of light and sound. The resonance grew tangible, wrapping them in an embrace that pulsed with memories, echoes of the ancient beings that once thrived on Tethys 9. They could feel the vibrations of ancient laughter, the warmth of relationships forged in joy and celebration, voices intertwined in harmony dancing through the air. A sudden rush of insight filled Arthur's mind, illuminating countless images, a civilization flourishing in perfect balance with nature. There were glimpses of families gathered around glowing trees, children weaving through lush fields, elders imparting wisdom as they planted seeds that fed the community. Each moment spoke of kindness and unity, reverberating like a heart beat of resilience that had weathered the passage of time. What had once been a stark landscape of solitude transformed in his mind's eye, revealing evidence of deep-rooted connections thriving beneath the surface. They had only scratched the surface, glimpsed the planet's fragility yet to be fully unveiled. As revelations cascaded through him, Arthur took a deep breath, understanding the challenge before them. Tethys 9 was not just a project, it was a lifeblood in desperate need of caretakers who would nurture its history while nurturing its future. They need our help, don't they? He said, realization dawning upon him. This planet is dead. It has been slipping, waiting for a connection to light the way home. Yes, echoed Lyra, her intuition synchronized with his. But our community back home, they don't see that, they only see desolation. We need to show them, he whispered, clarity slicing through the haze of possibilities. Share the truth of Tethys 9, the narrative of rejuvenation and resilience. As they stood before the crystalline core, the pulsating energy began to slow, transforming the rapid vibrations around them into a serene cadence. An understanding of purpose filled the space, a moment of convergence where their hopes glittered like stars in a midnight sky. The crystalline energy began to shift and morph, revealing a swirling projection of memories from Tethys 9, a visual tapestry depicting the planet's past intermingled with tantalizing possibilities for the future without warning vibrant. Image is leaped to life before them, a grand festival of colors and music, where families gathered laughter spilling over like an overflowing fountain. They caught glimpses of Mill's shared hands reaching out to one another, children playing beneath a shade of ancient trees, and with glowing blooms a profound sense of understanding wrapped around them, icy walls crumbling as they witnessed a story filled with compassion and unity thriving amidst the chaos. Tears welled in Lyra's eyes as the scenes flickered before them, bringing forth profound emotion. They loved each other fiercely. Didn't they? She gasped, taking a step back, the realization hitting them both with the force of something sacred. They cherished this land. They had a purpose, he murmured, equally choked by the image, is illuminating their path, yet the beauty of Tethys' past bridged seamlessly with the urgency of the present, the very ground they stood up and hummed with the ancient energy that remembered once a time when life blossomed abundantly to revive it. We must guide others to see, Arthur declared, a new resolve surging within him. We must create a bridge and cultivate a communal spirit with hope. With a sudden surge of energy, the scene shifted, the vision of the past curling into roots spiraling around them, embedding the very essence of compassion within their hearts. They felt the pulse of their own humanity, harmonizing with the rhythm of the planet, whispering promises of life, intertwined with kindness. And as it surged and swirled, Arthur felt an embracing light wrap around him, and Lyra, solidifying their bond further. He could feel how deeply connected they had grown to souls drawn together as champions of change, realizing the power they wielded together. What do we call it? Lyra asked, her excitement building, almost tangibly hope. He replied, about to suggest something broader. But before he could elaborate, Lyra beamed brightly. No, we call it kinship. It embodies everything we've witnessed, the connections between everyone. It doesn't just belong to us, but to every being and breath on this planet. Kinship, he echoed, feeling warmth electrify him, a path for us to nurture in others, to demonstrate that bonds forge resilience. In that moment, as they stood in this garden that pulsed with awakening, neither of them could shake the sense of purpose flooding through them. They would not let Tethys' story be forgotten again. Together, they would take that connection back home, ready to inspire others to engage with the wonder of discovery by their sides. And just like that, the last remnants of fear faded. They embraced the brilliance of the journey awaiting them. They were ready to return, to open the lines of communication that had long been severed, to rally their fellow researchers, friends, families, and the broader community into action as they turned from the garden, ready to weave the tale of Tethys 9 int. A narrative of kinship and unity. The energy around them pulsed in agreement with each shared step outside the crystal chamber. The very land breathed new life, affirming their purpose back in the community mod. They worked tirelessly, using the insights they had garnered to develop a comprehensive presentation to showcase their findings. Their key message resonated through every document, every presentation slide. The potential for regeneration and unity underscored the stories they had gathered as days transformed into weeks. Arthur and Lyra embarked on their quest to spread hope. They engaged with scholars, artists, and innovators, layering passion with purpose up, their unfolding narrative building a movement toward empathy, nurturing a kinship not just with Tethys 9, but ultimately among humanity itself. Watch, Lyra said one sunny afternoon, her fingers dancing as she designed a mural depicting the vibrant community of Tethys 9. Art becomes a vehicle for finally communicating those deeper connections. Let kinship be our language. He smiled. Their vision began to flourish like the planet surrounding them. Workshops filled with creative ideas bubbled up, instigating community discussions and grassroots initiatives promoting environmental stewardship and compassion. As they forged bonds with others, the planet became a symbol, a beacon showing how resilience could grow from kindness. It ignited the desires of people across the globe to care matter, highlighting the beautiful tale of Tethys 9 in art, displays, storytelling features, scientific examinations, and school programs. One particular evening in a community gathering hall, Arthur stood alongside Lyra as a captivated audience surrounded them. They presented their journey, where they had been, what they had uncovered, and aspirations of mutation spurred by kindness toward others. Lyra shared her experience. As we witnessed a world that longed for rekindled connections, let not only Tethys 9 be a lesson of conservation, but a testament of you. They embraced moments of in compassion and connection, a tangible kinship illuminating what was possible. The conversation swelled and morphed in workshops fostering commitment towards nurturing the earth, showcasing art, and creating projects to support environmental modifications. Back home, people looked at one another with transfigured frames of hope. As Arthur watched individuals collaborate in free-spirited laughter, friends and neighbors engaged in creative projects sprawling around them, he felt an immense warmth of using. Through him, time ebbed and flowed, weaving a mesmerizing tapestry of change within the community. Each effort pushed against illusory walls of isolation, the sense of togetherness blossoming in broader paths of connection across the whole of humanity, a narrative emerging from the ash is of fear replaced with endless possibilities. One evening, as sun set painted the sky in bruised tones, Arthur and Lyra wandered across expansive fields filled with gentle lush nests. The pills of vibrant blooms beckoned them, a mirror of the journey they had embarked up, and a promise of growth, sustainability, and kinship. This place feels so alive, Lyra said, the softness in her tone echoing the heart beat they had felt on Tethys 9. It reminds me of everything we've done to cultivate kindness across wounds of isolation. The two leaned against an ancient oak tree, basking in the presence of nature, feeling more than ever how connected they truly were. Do you think they know? He asked, gazing up at the sky, painted in vivid colors, reflecting their journey back. Do you think Tethys 9 knows what its story has ignited here? I think it feels our love and hope, she replied, the spark of conviction threading between them. We're custodians of its legacy now, its kinship, and it flows through everything we do. Silence fluttered around them, painted with possibility. They felt an unbroken band stretching across the vast expanse of space and time, binding them to every indelible truth that resonated on both Tethys 9 and Earth. And just as the last rays of sun dipped below the horizon, Arthur felt warmth ripple through his heart in sing his chest with joy. The world blossomed around them, full of life and love, kindness and connection, vibrant threads weaving together across a tapestry of existence that embodied the true spirit of kinship. That night, as they laid side by side beneath a sky shimmering with stars, Arthur glanced over at Lyra, illuminated by a soft glow of moonlight. He found himself reflecting on how far they had come since first stepping on Tethys 9. Here we are, he whispered, his heart swelling in a world steeped in hope. Surrounded by kinship, Lyra smiled, eyes glimmering beneath the stars. Yes, here we are. In a world that once felt fragile, we embraced growth, each other, and the beauty that lies within connection. Tomorrow, they would rise again, nurturing dreams and continuing their momentum, keeping the flame of kindness burning brightly, the beauty of a flourishing world reflected in every step forward. Every heart they touched, every connection they cradled in the unfathomable universe. Arthur knew that this kinship, born from once twisted roots, had the power to reverberate through lifetimes, conveying wisdom to every heart yearning for connection in a sunlit future. United by a kinship of hope shaped by kindness, they echoed the vibrancy of their journey forward. More the legacy of Tethys 9 alive and pulsating in their hearts. The bond they forged would continue, echoing through landscapes not yet discovered, lighting the way forward for generations to come.